Tim Pool says that the childless cat ladies become listless, zombies, and eventually communists. Let's get into it. I have a quick sales pitch. If you would, please like the video on the way in, and if you support a future of faith, fatherhood, and freedom in America, I would love to earn your subscription. Back to it. Tim Pool became a father at about age 40, and he started to realize that the amount of selfishness that he had experienced prior to becoming a father is indicating a larger problem in society, because those from my millennial generation and even below are experiencing the same thing, and that's part of the reason why depression and anxiety rates are twice as high as they ever have been.
I think the bigger issue actually is no kids. People used to work a lot more because they had kids. Now they work just enough and they're unhappy and they have no purpose.
Nope. 100%. I think if you don't have kids, you have no idea how selfish of a person you are.
Tim Pool then says that those without children become listless, purposeless, and nihilistic. And I can say I became a father at age 31. I can say with certainty that even though I had an extremely meaningful and I would say exciting life in comparison to what normal people probably had experienced at that age, I still felt a lot of this compulsion to find a deeper meaning and purpose in life.
I think on average, your middle-aged person is going to be listless, purposeless, and rather nihilistic to a certain degree. I'm not saying completely, not everybody is. Now, if you have no family, what does that translate into?
No purpose.
Depression?
Yeah.
Anger?
If you quantify how many women are going without kids, I believe most recently they did a survey where more women at age 30 had no children or were childless than women who actually had kids. So for the first time ever, more women at age 30 were without children than with. And if you quantify that and multiply that over the course of millions of people, the amount of nihilism, the amount of struggle that comes about because of those childless families and childless women ends up meaning that maternity, that maternal instinct, is poured out onto what they see as being the less fortunate, and it turns out in the votes, it turns out in public policy.
And also they have this misplaced maternal and paternal instinct where they think that where they don't know what to do with all of these feelings,
and they
right?
start voting.
So they start voting and
no.
trying to take care of all of the, little people around them who they think are so impoverished because they only make 45 grand a year.
Then we get into where Tim begins to call people the zombie people and says that the childlessness, when multiplied again, it ends in cultural decay. And if anyone, I challenge anyone to look around and tell me at this point that we are not experiencing that precise decay, and it almost reaches into every facet of our current society. And as a therapist of more than 13 years, I can say forthrightly that that decay has come into my office very frequently. Because when we take the most meaning-making experience and we begin to have that exempt from more than half of the women at age 30, that can present some serious problems, and we're seeing it everywhere.
Like this, I'm saying there are people who are 40 who feel like zombies because they have nothing to live for anymore. Been there, done that, experienced it, and they live now for nothing and no one.
When you don't care if you're going to make it very long, you begin to operate differently in life, and that begins to be played out in your finances, in the way that you treat your belongings, in the way that you treat your interpersonal relationships. And I can say personally that when I began to do that from ages really 18 to 23, it had an effect on everything, not just in my life, but it had a ripple effect across a great many parts of my spheres of influence. And that is exactly what's happening to a multitude of millions of people within America who go without children. Now, that doesn't mean that that is the only purpose-making institution. It's the only way that you can find meaning and purpose, but it is instinctually one of the greatest ones. And when you take that from more than half of women at age 30, we end up having big problems.
The reason why they're willing to sacrifice themselves, or why the mother gets like a 10x increase in strength, like the stories of the mom who lifts the car off her child, tearing her muscles to shreds. Yep. It's because We fear losing our loved ones more than anything bad happening to us.
Between the eradication of God in the public sphere and in the lives of a great many people, along with the eradication of parental, the opportunity to become parents, or your maternal or paternal instinct, when we eradicate those meaning-making institutions, what we end up with is communism. And that's part of the reason why in a otherwise wealthy society, so many people are turning into communists, because there is just that maternal and paternal instinct. They want to play that out through government instead of through their own personal polity in the lives of their family, their nuclear family.
I'm saying there are people who are gluttonous, listless, bored, lazy, and then there are people who are desperate for that purpose, and they'll attach to whatever they can, and we see the communists. They are wealthy. They live in the wealthiest country. They are not by any stretch historically impoverished, but they're angry.
And the lefties said basically every single day, I take some kind of action to change the world.
That's the
we always
message.
say among conservative circles that we're all raising our families, making money, helping our kids be good members of society. And the other side, if you look at a lot of the demographics, J.D. Vance's cat ladies, are just people, to your point, Tim, that are not engaged with their families. So you're going to pour your passions elsewhere.
Part of the reason I started this channel was to try to promote this purpose-making, part of life in as many people as I could, because as a father, I know that it has pushed me and driven me into taking measured risks, taking more education, taking greater amounts of side projects, side work, and really trying to build something and strive in order to accomplish more and more. And that's part of the reason why fathers and married men make, significantly more money than their non-married counterparts, because they have a reason to push further. And I want that experience for people. I love you. And for those of you who might be Gen Z or Gen Alpha even, I want you to have the best life possible, and that's part of the reason why I try to promote fatherhood, because I know it has been a better, more purposeful experience than anything that I've ever had prior. And as a person in recovery, as an international missionary, as a nonprofit founder, I've had a lot of meaningful experiences, but nothing compared to fatherhood. And I want that for as many people as possible. Not everyone is built to be a parent, and it is extremely hard. However, it is extremely rewarding. And it not only just rewarding, but it is extremely purpose-making. Because not all of it is a reward. A lot of it is hard, but sometimes the hard is good because you're doing it selflessly for your children. And if you would like to continue to promote that kind of mentality with me, I would love to earn your support and your further subscription. Have a great one.